This illustration should not exist. What? Seriously, when Year 3 Volume 4's color illustration dropped, I stared at it for a solid 10 seconds and not for the reason you think. I was like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. Two girls in swimsuits relaxing by a pool on the cruise ship during what's supposed to be one of the most brutal exams in the series. The exam with betrayals, expulsions, and these two are just vibing. Something's off, and when I started pulling at the threads, this one image unraveled into what might be our biggest preview of Volume 4's exam structure yet. By the end of this video, you are going to get several ideas of what this illustration might be hiding in plain sight, the exam format hints, and much more. If you are riding with me through this Year 3 journey, go ahead and subscribe. I'm covering every volume with every detail, every theory. You don't want to miss what's coming. But okay, before I get into the hidden details, and trust me, there are more than you think, we need to address the elephant in the room first. These characters look incredible, and I kept asking myself why? What's difference this time? Because it's not just, oh, nice art, it genuinely feels like a shift, and then it clicked. The style has changed, not drastically, not like a whole new art style, but a refinement. It's not the style we had for some of those Year 2 volumes. This is a genuine evolution, and honestly, I love it. And Nanase is looking angelic. I'm not exaggerating, I might have to bump her to my number 2 after this. That's how good she looks. Don't judge me, you saw the illustration, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, now here's where it gets interesting. The pretty art is nice, but what this illustration tells us about the volume, that's the real content. And there are 3 major clues hiding in this image. The last idea reframes what this exam might end up as. Let's start with the most obvious one. Look at where they are. They are on the cruise ship. Now, why is that weird? Because every single one of us, and I mean every single one of us, assumed the new special exam would take place on the island at the end of Year 3 Volume 3. They literally called everyone out to the beach from the ship. The island was the destination, that was the setup. So what are Nanase and Amasawa doing back on the ship? This opens up 3 possibilities, and I'm going to rank them from least likely to the most likely, because the most likely one is a bit different. Possibility 1, and this is the lowest on my list, is that this illustration shows a point where both Amasawa and Nanase have already been eliminated from the exam, an early or mid-exam knockout, so they are back on the ship with nothing to do. But here's the problem, look at their faces, they look way too happy for that. If you just got kicked out of a high-stakes exam, an exam where expulsion is on the line, you are not lounging by the pool with a beach ball and a cocktail, you are more likely to be stressed. So that energy is completely wrong. Possibility 2 is more reasonable. Maybe this illustration comes from the very end of the volume, an epilogue scene or the last chapter after the exam has concluded. The tension has lifted, everyone's decompressing, that would explain the relaxed mood. But possibility 3, the one I actually believe, is the most interesting, at least to me. So what if the exam takes place on both the ship and the island? Think about it. What if the structure requires each group to split their members, some stationed on the island, some remaining on the ship? And maybe the allocation matters. The more members you place on the island, the more points you can earn, but at greater risk. The ship is safer, but it costs you. Stay with me here, because this actually solves a huge problem. The last 2 island exams were incredible, but they were island exams. There's only so much variety you can squeeze out of students on an uninhabited island before it starts feeling repetitive. And Kinugasa sensei knows that. This is supposed to be the exam, the one with betrayal, the one with real expulsions, the one that changes the trajectory of every class. So a dual zone format, ship and islands, adds an entirely new layer of strategy, and that leads directly into clue number 2. Look at what they are wearing, both in swimsuits. Now, Nanase's could pass as something the school provided, but let's be real, no school is handing that out as an uniform, and Amasawa's, that is definitely a rental. That's a personal choice, she picked that out. So here's the question, what currency did she use to get it? Because in these type of exams, you typically have 2 forms of spending, private points and exam points. If renting swimsuits, assessing the pool, getting that beach ball Nanase is holding, ordering that green drink Amasawa's sipping, if all of that cost exam points, then we have a problem. You would never waste exam points on leisure during a high stakes exam. Amasawa is sharp, her class wouldn't allow it, it would be idiotic. But if it's private points, personal funds separate from the exam economy, then it makes sense, but still it would be a waste of time unless it is part of the exam. Anyways, on the surface this scene looks simple. Nanase is approaching Amasawa with a beach ball, probably inviting her to play. Come on, let's have some fun. That sort of type. And Amasawa's there lounging, looking relaxed with her drink. But what she's really doing is probably keeping an eye on Nanase and trying to find anything about her. Now all of this raises one giant question that ties everything together. When does this scene happen? Let's run through it. After the exam, possible, but would Kinugasa sensei use a full color illustration on a post-exam cooldown scene? In the most anticipated exam volume? Maybe, but seems like a waste. Before the exam? Doesn't work. The exam kicked off immediately at the end of volume 3. There's no gap. A flashback to year 3 volume 3. Something happening on the ship during the previous volume events. Unlikely. Quote does do flashback illustration, but that would be strange, at least to me. During the exam, while things are intense, well, their expressions don't match that at all. So what's left? One option, and I think it might be the answer. What if the exam has a built-in rest day? Something like the exam runs for say 6 days. After day 3, the midpoint, there's a mandatory off day. Everyone returns to the ship, no challenges, no eliminations, just rest. It has a lot of storytelling possibilities. Might look like relaxing time, but it's really not. Leaders from different groups meeting in secret to form coalitions. Students seemingly relaxed but are actually strategizing every second. This rest day will be the exam. It's where the real betrayals will get planned. And that would explain this illustration perfectly. Nanase and Amasawa looking relaxed because the brutal part hasn't hit yet. The calm before the absolute storm. And Amasawa using every second of that calm to gather information. It will work. Okay, real quick, if you're enjoying this breakdown, drop a comment telling me your theory about the exam format. Are we getting mixed groups, class-based teams, something totally new? I want to hear what you think. Now here's my read on the broader exam structure. I don't think this exam will be class-based. I think we're getting mixed groups, students from different classes, maybe even different year groups thrown together. Here's why. If it's a class-based exam, betrayal becomes really hard to pull off. You're betraying people who will be your classmates for the rest of the year. The only reason you'd flip on them is if you're guaranteed something massive like a class transfer ticket or millions of private points. The threshold for betrayal is too high. But in mixed groups, you owe nothing to people from other classes, temporary allies, permanent rivals. That is where betrayal thrives. That is the environment this volume needs for the kind of exam that's been promised. Plus, this is practical because why include first years and second years at all if it's just going to be a class versus class format within each year? It only makes sense to mix the years together. But here's what's important to remember. Kinugasa Sensei himself said in a previous afterword that despite this being a massive multi-year exam, the focus will remain on the third years. So the first and second years are there, but the narrative spotlight stays on our main cast. How he balances that? Honestly, I have no idea, but I trust him. And as for the expulsions, who's getting expelled and how the mechanics might work, I have a theory, a detailed one, but that deserves its own video. It's coming soon, I hope. I'll do my best. Okay, totally off topic for a second, but this has been bugging me. What were the first and second years doing while the third year battle royale was happening in volume 3? My personal headcanon, and look, there is zero chance this actually happened, but hear me out. It is that the school had them betting on the third years, like a spectator event, bet on which students eliminates the most opponents, bet on who survives to the end. You earn points if your predictions are right. Imagine all Nanase, Amasawa, Utomiya and mainly Hosen slamming all his private points or exam points down on Ayanokoji, absolutely confident, and then Ayanokoji gets eliminated and Hosen just loses everything. That definitely didn't happen, but it should have. Alright, coming back to something that actually matters, Kinugasa Sensei delivered exactly what he teased in the afterword of the last volume. He hinted at it, no, then yes, then no again, and this illustration is here, which means the next next two color illustration we are getting, there's a real chance they follow the same pattern, more character showcase art, more fan service. And if that's the case, who do you want to see? Shina, Ichinose, Horikita, Chapashira sensei, Hoshinomiya, that mysterious new first year girl, or Kushida? Let me know. So, a potential dual zone exam format, ship and island, the strong likelihood of mixed group composition across years, a possible rest day mechanic. These are just guesses, so let's see if they turn out to be right or not. And if you want my full expulsion theory for year 3 volume 4, make sure you are subscribed and have notifications on because that video will be dropping soon. And if you have your own predictions for this exam, throw them in the comments. With that said, I'll see you in the next one.